Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Stepmother stole my Xbox, so I called the cops on her. After that, am I the jerk for getting the police involved after I got into a car accident? And after that, wondered why my local coffee shop was low-staffed? Now I know why. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her Xbox taken away. Yeah, I'm more of a Nintendo gal myself. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Stepmother stole my Xbox, so I called the cops on her. My stepmother and my father are extremely overbearing. They think my boyfriend is not competent just because he's a young dad. My age is 19, my boyfriend is 20, our kid is 4 months. My parents are constantly nagging my boyfriend about how he parents our baby. They especially hate how he plays GTA in the same room as him. I don't see why it's a big deal, because it's not like our kid is even gonna watch it. On Halloween, we had a ton of people over, including friends and family. Sometime during the party, my boyfriend's Xbox vanished. After the party, we texted all the guests asking if they knew where it went. My lovely stepmother said she took it to her house so that boyfriend would no longer be able to play GTA in front of her grandson. She refused to return it to us. I called the police department and a cop made her return it. Everyone is saying that I'm just freaking out over something small. Even my boyfriend said that getting the cops involved was dramatic. Was I making a mountain out of a molehill? Am I the jerk for getting the police involved after I got into a car accident? So I, female 36, was on my way home from work yesterday. I drive a RAV SUV, and the road I was on was a 4-lane road. 2 one way and 2 the other, just off the interstate. I had pulled into the left lane, which after a couple miles becomes a left turn lane, and in the right lane next to me was a smaller car. I didn't think anything of it when they sped up, but when they cut across my lane and were trying to U-turn, which because of where we were at the time was not only illegal, but really dangerous, and I slammed my brakes, but unfortunately I couldn't stop in time. I ended up slamming into the side of the other driver's car. As we were both stopped in the middle of the road, I got out of my car and went to check on the other driver and their passenger. They were teenagers, a boy and a girl. I asked if they were okay, and thankfully no one was hurt. They got out of their car and looked at the damage on their car and mine, and I was already calling 911. Luckily, there was an off-duty EMT from the local fire department behind us, so he turned the lights on in his truck and pulled up to check on us. He had seen the whole thing. The kids begged me not to get the police involved because the boy that was driving would lose his license and offered to pay me off so they could leave. I was shook and trying to stay as calm as I could. This is where I might be the jerk. When they were begging me not to call the police, I sternly told them no and that the accident needed to be reported and that I needed the report from my insurance company. The kids started freaking out and the girl called her father and told them a Karen was calling the cops on them. The boy was just sitting in his car and barely said a word. When the state trooper showed up, he gathered our licenses and registration and asked what had happened. The EMT and I explained that the kids had cut in front of me, and I told him how they had tried to pay me off so they could go, and the kids admitted to trying to pull a U-turn because they got off on the wrong exit. The cop chewed them out for reckless driving and pulling an illegal U-turn and went to his car to run the licenses. The father of the girl shows up not long after and doesn't say a word to me, which was fine by me, but stares daggers at me while taking pictures of the front of my car. After the trooper was done, he goes over to the kids and gives them a copy of the accident report and tickets the driver, then gives me a copy of the report. Thankfully, they were insured, so I can have my insurance company deal with that. The damage to my car wasn't as bad as theirs. It was drivable, but it still busted up the front right side enough to need repair. Plus, as I was getting closer to home, I started smelling something burning, so I had to stop and have it towed to the dealership repair garage. My car isn't even 6 months old. Update. Just finished up with getting a repair estimate from my dealership body shop. I'm looking at around a $3,000 repair job. I spoke with my insurance company, and they helped me file a claim with the kids' insurance company. Just waiting on the company to give me a call back, because they need to send one of their adjusters out to look at my car as well before we can move forward with this. Wondered why my local coffee shop was low-staffed. Now I know why. I, 19 male, decided to quit my job and decided I wanted to work as a barista. So I started looking and found a good reviewed coffee shop close to my home. They were hiring, which I found odd considering it's a very good looking shop that they got going. So I went in and met the owner. She gave me an interview and it went smoothly. Moving forward, first day on the job, they don't have a training course for newcomers like me who have absolutely no clue about coffee or the equipment. So the employees made me work on grinding espresso, making shots, crema, etc. It all went well. They were super nice to me throughout the process, grateful for it. So I wrote down everything they told me and watched. Second day, I did everything that I was taught to opening the lights, cleaning windows, cleaning tables, opening the cash register and counting the money in it, and opening the espresso machine, grinder, kettle, etc. I did it all correctly. It was just me and the owner because the employee that taught me yesterday had to get a surgery. Owner asked what I was taught yesterday, so I told her. She goes, "That's it?" I was a bit irritated by the way she said it. I thought I learned pretty well for a first-timer, but boy, was I about to be in for a wild ride. Customer walks in and asks for a cappuccino, so I did like any first-timer would do, pull out my trusty note and measure. But no, she said put it back and scolds me for not remembering. And for the whole entire day, she treats me like I'm a jerk for not knowing what I was doing. When I asked her to teach me the things I don't know, she was irritated. I was miserable. Sure, the employee taught me, but they didn't teach me everything. Third day, unsettling feelings start to come, but thankfully the owner wasn't there. Same routine goes, and I meet another employee, super nice and informative. And when I asked them questions, she would answer them instantly without hesitation and with pride. Customer came in and asked for a different extraction method, which I wasn't good at, and she knew that. So she told me to do the cash register. Everything goes buttery smooth, and when I pulled out my note to measure, she didn't judge me for it because we would remember things as we go. Fourth day, come to work early as I usually do to start my routine. I do everything they taught me. Owner walks in. My whole mood changed instantly. She asked me if I did my routine. I'm always an honest guy, so I told her yes. Doesn't believe me. Big Dumbo treatment comes. Scolding, scolding, scolding. I was miserable the entire day. She sees that I'm miserable and comes up to me and says, "You're not gonna quit on us, are you?" After saying that, she would walk back to where she came from and gossip, giggle right in front of my face. Like I could hear them talking about me. I've never had a problem with the customers or the employees. They're all so kind. But my problem is the boss. What should I do, guys? Is it my fault? What did I do wrong to deserve this? I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to open her shop, clean, open, prepare espressos like they told me to. Edit. I never lied in the interview about how I knew how to make coffee. I was honest throughout the interview about how I don't know anything about coffee or the equipment needed to make it, because I needed them to teach me the things I don't know, and not just stand there like some jerk that watches other people do the work. Am I the jerk for buying my girlfriend fake perfume? I, 23, male, have dated my girlfriend, 19, female, for a little under a year now. I've come to love her a lot, and my love language is gift-giving. My girlfriend has always been the type of girl that's just hard not to love. She's the definition of magnetic. Guys always approach her, and understandably, she's a high-caliber girl. She could easily be anyone's dream girl. Looks amazing, and everything about her is feminine, down to her hands and how she comforts me or makes me food. She has an expensive look to her, but she does all her self-care herself and is amazingly cost-efficient about it. As a result, the kind of guys that go after her are usually trust fund babies or are highly ambitious, med school, law school, business startups, things like that, despite herself not being anywhere in that tax bracket. This isn't her fault because I've seen myself that she never entertains anyone, but she just has that effect on people. It makes me feel like less of a man because I'm nothing like those guys, and honestly, it makes me feel like a bum. One day, while walking past her computer, I noticed that she was looking at a designer perfume, and I told her I'll get it for her. She's adamant that she doesn't want me to get it for her and that she was just kind of daydreaming about it. She's literally never asked me for anything, but I wanted to show her that I can take care of her and spoil her too. I look into it, and the perfume is $300. What the heck? I don't see the point in something like that, but honestly, my pride would be hurt if I went back on my word. so I find the perfume for a much greater value on eBay. Today comes and I gift her the perfume. She unwraps the present, sprays it on her hand to smell it, and her face is a blank expression, like she's trying to decide how to react. I ask her what's wrong, and she gives me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, thanking me that I wanted to get her something nice. I don't know why, but it made me feel like crap. I was expecting a much bigger reaction. I keep pushing her as to why it seems like she doesn't like her gift, and she tells me that she loves the idea, but it's obviously fake. I feel like this was an extremely ungrateful thing to say, and I called her a brat for even caring if the perfume is fake or not. I also said that she's materialistic due to the fact that she could supposedly even tell it was fake by merely looking at it and smelling it once. She says that it's dumb that I made a big show about getting it for her if I was just going to do this, and that what I got her is nothing like the original perfume, that it couldn't even be considered an imitation. I think it shouldn't matter, because I practically still got her the perfume she wanted, I just didn't drop $300 for it. This is making me see her in a different light. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. If Reddit boy got me a fake perfume, he'd need a new head. I expect my rules to be followed. Wait, not like that. I worked in the clothes section of our store, and it was not uncommon for staff and customers to ask fitting room staff to put clothes on hold for them by putting them in the back of the fitting room cupboard. All holds had to be picked up within 2 days or they'd be put back on the shelf, but everyone felt this was quite reasonable. A couple of months before Christmas, the department manager, for some reason, suddenly decided that staff were not allowed to put clothes on hold at all, even if it was just for a few hours until you finished your shift and could go to the registers. Nope. If manager saw clothes put aside for a staff member, she'd take it and screech, "I expect my rules to be followed," and "No clothes ought to be left in this cupboard," and go and put the clothing back on the shelf. She even printed out a note that said, "Staff are not to put items on hold. No exceptions." Yes, that was even how she spelled it. And stuck it inside the cupboard door where holds would have been kept. No justification was ever given for this rule. It wasn't like the staff holds were taking up space, as there would generally be no more than 1 to 2 items on hold for staff at any given time, if that. Also, when she pulled a staff member's hold items out of the cupboard, she would always rip it out as if she was trying to start a lawnmower, knocking several other items of clothing onto the floor, and she'd always just flounce out without tidying up any of the mess she had caused. Fast forward to maybe 2 weeks before Christmas. I was working in the fitting rooms on the evening shift, and manager walked in while I was on the phone with a customer, maybe 10 minutes before closing time. As I watched, manager put 2 pairs of women's pajamas into the cupboard. However, instead of just putting them into the cupboard where there was a gap, she pulled the few remaining returns forward and pushed these pajamas right to the back of the cupboard. I watched her do it. She saw me watching, but neither of us said anything. As a hardworking employee, I knew that I had to make sure the cupboard was empty of returns before I left for the night, so that whoever was working in the morning would have a clean start. So as soon as I got off the phone, I took all the clothes out of the cupboard, put them all back out on the shelf, and went and clocked out to go home. My following shift, I got screamed at for putting the pajamas back out on the shelf because they were for my mother's Christmas present, and saying that she was going to make me call her mother and force me to explain why she wasn't getting the pajamas she wanted. I said, fine, I'll explain that she doesn't get her pajamas because of your rules. Manager said, but I'm a manager. You saw me put them in there, so you should have just left them. Without saying a word, I swung the cupboard door open and tapped the "No exceptions" bit on her sign. She was absolutely fuming, but there were customers and other staff there, and she realized that she didn't have a leg to stand on and would only look stupid if she pushed it further. So she just stormed out. The fallout, if you could call it that, was that she sulked and basically wouldn't talk to me for about 3 weeks. But given that when she did talk to me, it was usually to micromanage me or tell me to do something I was literally already doing, example, hurry up and clean the fitting room stalls, as I was already sweeping up rubbish in there with a dustpan. I was quite happy with that. On a side note, some staff did try getting around this rule by putting stuff in the cupboard with no name on it, but that made it hard for other fitting room staff as we couldn't tell what was a staff hold and what was just returns that needed to be put away. Others tried writing fake customer names, but the manager caught someone doing this and started putting away clothes with a customer name on it because she wasn't going to let anyone get away with it. On more than one occasion, it turned out that she put away something that was actually on hold for a customer, and then us fitting room staff would get shouted at for it. A lot of us evening and night workers couldn't even go and quickly buy the clothes we wanted on our breaks because we worked short shifts and either didn't get a break or only got 15 minutes, and the registers were so busy and understaffed that there was no way you'd even get to check out in under 20 minutes. By the time our shift finished, the registers were closed. Give me my car back or I will have you arrested. Cast. We've got me, generally average, chronically depressed loser. We've got Karen, lady who is staying at our hotel. We've got general manager. We've got police officers 1 and 2. So I was working the front desk with my GM in the back, and generally things weren't irregular. People came in, got checked in, etc. Life was fine until a lady walks in and storms to the front desk, scowling at me. Oh boy, here we go. Where's my car? Your car? Yes. What happened to it? I don't know, ma'am. Is it damaged or something? It's gone. It's not there anymore? No, it's not. Where did you take it? I didn't do anything. I certainly didn't take your car. So after this loud exchange, the GM comes to the front, wondering what all the noise was. He asks what the problem is, and she yells at him as I let him handle the angry guest. He could already tell she was the unreasonable type of person who didn't care how things worked so long as it was in her favor. Seeing this, I'm glad to be out of the situation. I wasn't. As it turns out, her car was towed because she hadn't placed the parking ticket we provide our guests for free on her dashboard so that they can park at our hotel. This little rule was added because people don't care that our parking lot is not a free parking car lot where they can leave their car for an indefinite amount of time. You have to be a guest or do a park and fly with us for us to issue a parking permit for use. We hand them out to every guest and inform them every time that they need to place them on their car dashboards immediately, or our security will call the towing company we contract to tow their vehicle away. No, leaving it in your pant pocket doesn't count, sir. They tow all week, but their customer center is only open weekdays, and I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, so she was already in a bad way on that front. Her first version of events is we never told her that. The GM said that it's part of our standard check-in speech, and if she didn't listen, it's not on us. Then her next version is that we left her window open, and somebody must have stolen her ticket, and only the ticket. We called the towing company, and one of the few attendants mentions that when that vehicle was brought in with all windows closed, they didn't see a ticket anywhere. We asked if it was possible for them to bring the vehicle back so that we could just circumvent this whole issue and get her to stop throwing a fit at the front desk. They were closed and didn't have any drivers available to do that, as it was the weekend. Then, my favorite, she turns to me and ignores the GM entirely and demands that I bring her car back or she will have me arrested for car theft. I give her the most, "What the heck? Are you serious?" look I can, and my GM scoffs before saying we can't help her as the blame is solely on her. She storms off and I shrug, and my GM goes into the back thinking that she gave up. Well, if you read the cast of characters, then you can infer that I was wrong about that assumption. She comes in a while later, flanked by 2 police officers and a smug smirk firmly on her face as she pointed at me and said, "That's him. Make him give me my car back." They walk up to me and say, "Excuse me, we're here about a report on a car being stolen." I sigh and take a moment to pinch the bridge of my nose and give the lady a very deadpan glance before turning to the officers. "I assume Karen called you?" "Yes, she did." I roll my eyes and launch into an explanation of events and why her car has been towed, not stolen. Fortunately, the officers are very calm on the matter, and when they asked for more details on the towing company we have a contract with, they nodded in understanding. They did inquire if I called the company to return the car, and after saying we did but they were closed, they walked back to her. I could even catch one of them mutter, "Why are we even here?" After they talked to her and her growing more and more outraged, she finally threw up her hands in frustration, stomped off to her room, and left the next day. She trashed the room, but we had her card on file, so we got the last laugh. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because of her wedding dress? I have had a difficult relationship with my older sister for years. She is my half-sister, and due to a strained relationship with our mom, I've struggled with our relationship for years. At times, we have come together to support each other when our mom has been unreasonable, and at times we have clashed because I have seen how she has hurt our mom. My mom has done a lot over the years to help out us both, and a number of years ago, my mom bought her a house, but they ended up arguing a lot about it, and the family have been largely no contact with her. But since lockdown, I had been talking to her more and getting closer to her, which had caused arguments with our mom. During lockdown, I lost my job, moved house, and decided to open a bridal store in our city. My sister has also become engaged to her long-term boyfriend, which we were all really excited about and happy about. Who doesn't love a wedding? We had previously discussed wedding dresses, and she had tried one on before she got engaged, and once she got engaged, I told her there was no rush as she isn't getting married until 2023, and we would wait for the new season gowns to arrive before looking. She found a dress that she loved and told me she was booking an appointment to try it on. This was a gown that I could order for her from one of my designers. I didn't think much of it. Edit. I had offered her any dress at cost price, and she had not tried any gowns on with me since she got engaged. A few weeks ago, I got a phone call from her where she told me she really didn't like the dress she went to try, but she tried on other gowns and eventually spent over 2,000 pounds on a wedding dress. I told her on the phone I couldn't talk as I was busy. The store she bought from is one of my biggest competitors. I was really upset and felt disappointed. This is a brand new business, and my own sister doesn't want to buy from me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was disappointed that she hadn't even given me the respect to come to me, and she went to the other store and bought her dress on a whim. There is no time pressure or any particular reason. I was, and well over a month later, I get really upset when I think about it. I don't want to go to her wedding or have any involvement in her wedding now. As time has gone on, I have thought that it could be because she wouldn't want my mom to be involved, as she still is no contact, and I don't really see that changing. I respect and understand her decision, but I have personally decided life is better with mom and dealing with her sometimes challenging behavior. Our family has varied opinions as to whether I am right to want nothing to do with the wedding and whether I am overreacting. I honestly don't think I am, but maybe I am the jerk for getting so upset over a wedding dress. I can only book travel in coach class? Okay. Shortly before lockdown brought all manner of traveling work to a screeching halt, I was finishing up and getting ready to book my travel home. Normally, everyone would just fly, and in my case, that meant a nice short trip of about 2 hours in the air. However, this particular location and the route back home for me had an extremely scenic train route that took about 12 hours. And as a bonus, I could get a sleeper car for a pretty cheap price, less even than the flight. I asked my boss if there was any reason I had to fly instead of taking the train, as the latter would save them some money, and he said it would be fine. I didn't waste his time or mine by mentioning any of the above details. I simply booked my ticket and immediately sent in the receipt for reimbursement. Not 20 minutes later, I get an email paraphrasing, "What the heck is this? I thought you said you were going to book travel that would save us money. What do you think you're doing booking a sleeper car? You're not one of the big shots out here. Send me a new receipt for your coach class accommodations." Okay, as you wish. Cue malicious compliance. Since this happened so quickly, I was able to cancel my $150 train ticket without issue. And since there was no way I was taking a 12-hour train ride in coach instead of a 2-hour flight, I booked my air travel like I normally would and immediately sent in the $450 receipt for my coach class flight. I got yet another email asking me what the heck I was doing. Now, I'm good at booking travel, and I know how to find good prices. I knew that there wasn't a cheaper flight to be had, so I wrote back, "Sorry, this is the cheapest coach class flight I could find. If you can find a better one, please let me know before the 24-hour cancellation window closes, and I'll be happy to book that instead." Clearly frustrated, they told me to stop playing games, cancel the flight, and just buy the darn train ticket. I didn't. I took the flight home and got reimbursed per company policy for my coach class flight. Difficult customer wants his steaks. So this is not really my story. Our evening manager told me about this one, and I felt the need to share. At 9:15 p.m., a customer calls wishing to speak with the meat department. The department closes at 9, so the evening manager, Steve, takes the call. A man wants to know how many of the strip steaks we have on sale are left. Steve checks and tells him there are 7 left. Man thanks him and hangs up. 15 minutes later, the man calls back. He doesn't believe Steve and wants him to check again. Although annoyed, Steve agrees to check and tells the man there are now 6 strip steaks. The man shouts angrily, "I knew it! You lied to me!" To which Steve calmly responds, "No, sir. Another customer bought one since your last call." The man retorts, "We'll see about that. I'm coming down there right now, and you'd better have those steaks." So a little before 10 p.m., this middle-aged man comes to the registers with a few strip steaks, asking for the manager. Steve comes down and the customer rips into him. "You lied to me," the man accused. "You said there were 6 steaks left, and there are only 4. Just barely keeping his cool, Steve replies, "There were when you called, but like last time, another customer bought some." Now fuming, the man demands that Steve go back and cut him some more strip steaks. Steve refuses since he's not a trained cutter, and even if he was, the department has been cleaned for the night. The man then demands a rain check for 30 strip steaks, since this is the last day of the sale. Steve says no, he can give him a rain check for up to 4 steaks, and to make up for his troubles, he'll let him have one of the 4 steaks he's buying now for free. Not good enough for this customer. He leaves without any steaks or a rain check and promises he'll be calling the store director in the morning for such terrible customer service. As far as we know, the complaint has not yet been made. Employer doesn't want me to waste 2 hours? They waste 40 instead. A number of years ago, I worked for a small, fairly local outsourcing company. I was assigned to work with a particularly high-profile client of theirs. The client's office was just around the corner from my employer, but my employer insisted that I remain within their own offices to work, so the client provided me with a laptop to use that connected to their network remotely. It's important to note that whilst the clients were decent, my employer had a totally fear-based management culture. The managers wanted eyes on the employees at all times because they assumed people could slack off given half the chance. After almost a year of working there, I got a call from the client notifying me that my client-given laptop needed some critical updates and I would have to bring it in so IT could apply the updates locally. All sounded very reasonable to me. I brought this to the attention of my manager and advised I would be out of the office for a while so I could take my laptop to the client site around the corner for critical updates. No bueno. My manager ignored everything about the critical updates part and focused instead on the out of our office for 2 hours part. They insisted that they knew I had a remote connection to the client's office, so any updates could be applied without me needing to leave and take my laptop anywhere. I got the impression they thought I was lying to get some free time off. I decided this had the potential to teach my employer/the managers a great lesson about not trusting their own employees. So, like the model employee I was, I shrugged, "You know best, boss," and complied with their request, continuing working as usual. Until the following morning, when I switched on my laptop and nothing would work. The machine refused to connect to the client's remote network. The various software applications I used for my job also wouldn't run due to the lack of connection. Error messages flashed up on every file I tried to access, warning that my credentials had been blocked. I was left holding a very expensive brick. My manager was livid when I explained I couldn't do any work. They clicked around on my laptop trying to fix it themselves, but there was no other solution to be had. They sent me around the corner to the client's office so I could hand in my laptop to IT. I took my time enjoying a coffee and breakfast in the client's on-site cafe while IT worked on my laptop, but when I went to check on it after an hour, I believe the client IT's manager's words were, "It's done for." The critical update mentioned before was intended to repair something wrong with the way the remote connections worked. When my machine didn't get the update, it lost connection with the client's network and immediately locked me out of everything, effectively blacklisting my credentials. IT manager explained that they would have to build me an entirely new machine and set up new accounts, a process that would take about a week to ensure everything filtered through correctly and could be tested. The client was fine and understanding about it, but when I returned empty-handed to my employer's office, my manager got extremely snotty with me and insisted I still had to work somehow. I pointed out that I had no client laptop to work on, so instead of sending me home, they forced another employee to share her computer with me. For the next week, me and my colleague shared her computer, 1 hour each at a time. As I had no access to any of my files, client data, etc., all I could do was the barest minimum of work, sending a few emails from my colleague's account. After a week, I got my new client laptop and things went back to normal. But the week of sharing meant my employer had lost around 40 hours of productivity from 2 employees. The shared pain of the experience with my colleague brought us closer together, and when my employee lost their contract with my client a few years later, she helped me get a new job with my employer's competitor. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.